What's up everyone, it's Sinistry, and today I am here to talk with you about Splatoon 3. Now, I have been dying to play this game for so long. I can't believe that it's only a little over a month away and we still don't know so many different things about the game. So I figured if Nintendo is not going to feed me with any more news about Splatoon, if we're not getting a Direct, or if the Direct is coming sometime maybe in August, I just want to share my own thoughts and opinions on how the game can be awesome. I am not necessarily predicting what will be in the game because at this point, I don't think there's time to be adding a whole lot else. But I mean, maybe some of these modes or some of these ideas will come to fruition, or they could be implemented in the future. We don't really know. So I figured I would share them with you. Feel free to let me know what you think about my ideas in the comments down below, and if you have any great ideas as well, also feel free to drop those. I would love to read them and respond and see, what kinds of opportunities there could be in Splatoon 3. But with that being said, I really want to talk about Turf War. Okay, so Turf War, everybody knows this mode. If you know Splatoon, you know about Turf War because it's really the epitome of the game. You're just inking the floor and splatting people. Pretty simple. But I think that Turf War could really be expanded as a concept. And I think that we should keep OG Turf War as is. We need a 4v4 mode. We need to have something that can be highly competitive, but also pretty simple and have plenty of map selection and all of that. But I think there are a few opportunities here to increase the different modes under a Turf War umbrella so that we can kind of target different demographics and play styles, and we can also just have a little more fun with different variety. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about is a 16-player Turf War that would be 8v8. And this would have to be on huge maps because on smaller maps, you would just be splatted all the time. You would probably have more downtime than you would have in game time. And I don't think inking the floor would happen all that much. It would probably be just some residual ink from splatting people. So I think that kind of goes against the game. But on huge maps, you kind of solve that problem because you would have people more spaced out. Now, I think that you could do a couple of really interesting things with these huge maps and also with this mode in general. So one thing that you could do is have multiple spawn locations on these maps. And if the maps are like maybe 2 times the size of a regular map, you could maybe do 2 spawn locations. So you could do one like halfway down the map and one at your kind of home base where you normally would start the game. And this would help with spawn trapping, which isn't a huge issue in the world of Splatoon, at least from my experience, but it's still super annoying when you run into people who just sit at your home base. They wait for you to respawn and then they just splat you right away. Now I know you have the force field, so like you can't really be splatted immediately, but I mean, if they're just waiting right outside of the force field, the second you step out of it, you're going to get splatted. And sometimes they're really good at staying just far enough away that you can't get them, and that's so annoying. So I would really love to see a way to reduce spawn trapping. And the other issue with reducing spawn trapping is when you super jump to team members, a lot of times you get KO'd immediately. You just get splatted like within 5 seconds of being back in the game. And that's also really annoying. So I think that having multiple spawn locations would kind of keep things fresh. You'd still have an opportunity to spawn elsewhere, not just at your home base. It kind of makes it unpredictable for the other team to know where you're going to spawn in and just go try to spawn trap you. And you can also see other parts of the map that maybe you don't get to all the time, especially if there's like a lot of control over a majority of the map by the other team and you're kind of just trying to push through their barrier. This is a nice way to kind of break up that play style and make it a little more unique. And then on top of that, I think that having a 8v8 mode would help new players, and it would also help players who are just tired of squid partying and players with bad internet or who go AFK. Really, the issues between all of these are very similar. You just have team members who aren't contributing a whole lot, and it can be very frustrating when you're on a team of 4 people and 3 of them are squid partying, Or you have one of them goes AFK, one of them's new, so they only score like 200 points and they have no idea how to even use their weapon or their special. And then you have like one other team member who's like decent, and maybe you're decent, but you go up against a team of 4 people who are playing the game competitively, like they want to win. It can be just super annoying, and when you're in a lobby of 8 people, it can just not be super fun. So I think it would be great if we had an 8v8 mode and you can just mitigate these losses of like people who just want to squid party, people who drop out of the game because their internet failed, or just new players. And new players would have a lot less burden on them. You wouldn't feel like you're letting your team down just because you only scored like 100 points because you don't really know what you're doing. And you also can kind of get a hang for the game while winning. You don't have to like lose a million times before you can finally win a game because it takes you that long to figure out how to use all the different weapons. You got to figure out which one you want to use. You are getting the timing down of splatting people, all of these different things. I think that having a mode with a lot more people just kind of makes it more beginner friendly, but also more friendly for people who just want to play the game casually, don't want to deal with the frustrations of the 4v4 mode. Now, that being said, I also would love to see Nintendo add another 16 player mode, but I would like to see 4 teams of 4. And this, I feel like, is a little more controversial than the 8v8 because 8v8 really only has upsides. But 4v4v4v4 is kind of chaotic. It would still have to be on large maps because, again, when you have that many people, you can't play that on smaller maps or you're just gonna get frustrated. But if you had 4 teams of 4 on larger maps, it would be so unpredictable and it would be really chaotic. You would have so many specials going off at the same time. You'd have colors flying everywhere. You'd get splatted by like one team and then another team is hounding your base, or I don't know. There would be so many different things that could happen. I think it would be maybe toxic. Like, am I introducing a toxic game mode? I don't know, but I think it could be really fun. And because of the unpredictability, I think that different teams would operate differently and it could just be a fun time. Why not do it? If they added in larger maps and larger teams, why not just add in another mode that's smaller teams but more of them, and see what kinds of chaos happens in this game that's really based on chaos, as we know. Okay, so taking a step back and moving away from the traditional Turf War format, I have been thinking a lot about how to further mitigate squid partiers. Now, squid partiers, I get it. It's funny. It's a meme. You do it with your friends. You're hanging out on Discord and you're like, I'm just gonna go squid party. Because, like, I'm tired of playing the game, but I want to keep it open because I'm going to want to play in a little bit. So let me just go squid party. It's a problem for people who don't like to squid party and people who just actually, like, don't have a lot of time to be in a million different lobbies and trying to avoid the squid partiers who just seem to constantly show up some days. Like, it sometimes seems like every lobby has a few of them. And that's kind of an issue, and for player engagement, it can be a problem. So I recommend having a mode that's chaos mode. I think that's what you'd have to call it. I don't really know what else you would call it. It should be a mode that is literally for the memes. You have to do meme tasks, things that seem very counterintuitive, and the better you are at doing stupid things, the more points you get, or the more recognition you get. And what I mean by this is, you know how like squid partying, I don't know how to like say what it is. You're like flipping in and out of squid mode, basically. I guess that's the best way to describe it. I guess in this mode, you would see how many times you could do that. Whoever can do it the fastest or the most number of times in a match gets some kind of like extra, I don't know, benefit of some sort. This could just be a stupid mode that would not necessarily reduce the amount of annoying people in regular matches, but maybe it would. Like, maybe people would just go to this mode for the memes. Like, why not? You could also have some other criteria for like these could be more like party games. So maybe they don't last like 3 minutes, maybe they just last like 1 minute. And another mode that you could do is see how many times you can dissolve in the water. You could see how much ink you can suck up off the ground. That could be good. Basically the reverse of turf war. I don't know, you could do a lot of different things, truly. I would have to think a lot harder about this mode if I thought it was potentially a thing that could happen. But I think that just having a Mimi mode would be really just stupid and fun, and something that would give people an outlet. Like, go in there and do the dumb things in this mode that's intended for them, and you'll actually get benefits. Like, you'll actually get points. You're not gonna be like reducing other people's fun. You can go have your own fun in this section. I think that would just be somewhat helpful, or also just fun. I mean, why not? Okay, so while we're still talking about modes, I do want to say I think it would be okay if Nintendo kind of spaced out these modes, meaning not have them all day one launch. I mean, obviously, like I said, I'm not predicting that any of these modes will be in the game, but if they were to do modes like these, they could kind of space them out maybe like 3 or 6 months apart. That way it gives them more time to like implement them into the game and fine tune them and see what works and see what doesn't work. Maybe do like beta tests, things like that. But I think that that would keep player engagement really high. I don't think that player engagement is necessarily a huge issue with Splatoon. I mean, most shooters tend to have like really intense audiences, like you play the game a lot, but because it's Nintendo, I have to imagine there are a lot of casual players who probably pick up the game saying, well, it's a Nintendo first party, of course I'm going to pick it up. And they play it for a week and they go, I'm bad at shooters, I'm not gonna play this ever again. But if you had the meme mode, would you not restart the game just to play the meme mode? I think people would do it. And I think people would also restart just to play the 8-player mode where you have a larger map and it would be fun to explore. And then if you get tired again after a week, then fine. And the 4v4v4v4 mode, again, it's chaos. Why wouldn't people want to restart the game? Why wouldn't people want to pick it back up and re-download it and go through all that hassle? The truth is, I think they would. I think they would want to play this game. But when you have just the same modes for years at a time and you don't really like add a whole lot, you might have the Splatfest and things like that, but realistically, not everyone cares about that, and it's not changing the gameplay all that much. So I think that this could be a great way for Nintendo to continue to build up the player base over time, show that they're really invested in this franchise, and also just have enough people in these lobbies to keep the game sustainable for a very long time. Okay, so last thing about turf, and this is kind of about turf war and kind of about ranked and just kind of general, I guess, but I want to talk about maps. I think that we need to change maps a little bit. We need to add more maps over time. I think that's going to be really important in keeping players engaged, because again, the more you add content, especially if it's free, the more you add content over time, the more that people will stay engaged. I think that's just going to be a big benefit. And I also think that we need some diversity in maps, where maybe we have more maps that move around. Maybe we have some more indoor maps that have little nooks and crannies, and you can get into a tunnel with another person across from you and it's like a quick draw situation. I think these kinds of things would be really fun. They do kind of mimic other shooters, but I don't think that's a bad thing, because when you have other shooters doing so successfully for so long with the same kinds of formulas and the same, style of map development, I think it's okay to pull some inspiration from that, but just make it have the Splatoon touch. Also, I think that we really need to have more maps cycle more frequently. Either we need to have like 3 maps every 2 hours, or maybe 4 maps every 3 hours, or we need to have like 2 maps on an hourly rotation. I kind of don't like that idea exactly, just because people could get on at the end of an hourly rotation and really want to train up in a specific map, but then, they're at the end of the rotation and they missed out, and then it's going to be another like 12 or 24 hours or whatever until that map is available again. Maybe they can't play again. So I get that there might be reasons why you want to have the rotation last 2 hours. It does make sense, but I do think that having 3 maps during that 2-hour rotation would be really helpful. I think everyone has moments where they're tired of, playing the game on a map that they don't like, and it shows up 3 times in a row, and then you finally get to play the map that you like, and then it goes back to the map that you don't like for another 3 times. It's just RNG, and it's sometimes really bad. So let's just add a little more diversity there with the map selection and the map rotation. I think that would help a lot. Okay, so now that we talked about turf, let's talk about ranked mode. Now, all of the ranked modes that are currently available in Splatoon 2, I think they're great. I have no issues with them. I think there might be some minor quality of life improvements that could be done, but overall, I think that they should keep them much the same. However, I would love to see another 1, 2, maybe even 3 additional ranked modes just to add some more variety, give people a reason to pay $60 for this game that's very similar to Splatoon 2. And realistically, if you own Splatoon 2, it can be kind of hard to justify buying another game that's very similar, especially when the player base of that game is still going strong, at least as of right now. So I would definitely recommend that they add another couple ranked modes and they keep the original ranked modes that people really love and that people got really good at, and just give an opportunity to rotate between them more frequently. I think that's another issue that I feel like plagues Splatoon overall, is that it can be so long if you get online right at the beginning of a 2-hour block, and it's only modes that you hate, it's only maps that you hate, and Salmon Run is not available. It just feels exhausting. So I would definitely recommend that they add more rotation, they add more ranked modes per 2-hour block, or they just add more maps per 2-hour block, or do something a little bit different to keep it fresh and to keep people wanting to stay online the full 2 hours. I think that's another issue too. If you want to have an engaged player base and you want them to spend hours and hours and hours on your game, you need to give them a reason to stay online. And sometimes it's not as simple as, I'm competitive and I want to win at this game. Sometimes you really need to have the right game mode online. You need to have the right maps available, and more casual players just aren't really going to stay online for a full 2-hour block if they don't like the maps, if they don't like the ranked mode, if they feel like, well, my teammates are letting me down, so I'm just gonna log off. I really want to see Splatoon 3 thrive, and so I really hope that Nintendo considers this and really thinks about how they can continue to keep people engaged for longer periods of time, and not just in a single session, but also long term. In addition, I think a good quality of life improvement would be to add a calendar within the game that says which maps and which ranked modes are going to be available for the next maybe 12 to 24 hours. I think that would be really helpful because sometimes people are super busy and they have to actually schedule their gaming time. It's not as simple as, well, I get done with my job and then I can just go game for 7 hours. I mean, some people only have maybe an hour or 2 that they can game at a time, and they might have to do their home duties, they might have a family, they might need to do chores, they might have a second job, or they might be in school. Different kinds of things happen, and I think that giving people the ability to see pretty far ahead within the game itself would just be super helpful in being able to plan things out. And if you are logged in, the 2-hour mark is about to go up and you just want to see, okay, should I stay online now or should I just log back in 4 hours because it's Saturday, I got to get a lot done, but I can do it now or I can do it later. That's going to really also help engagement, and I think that having it within the game is going to be helpful because, unless I'm wrong, please let me know if I am wrong, I think the only way to look far ahead right now is through the website. And that means you have to get your phone out, or you have to go on your PC and you need to look for, the maps or the modes in the future. And it can just be another step that's a hassle. I don't see why they can't implement that directly into the game. Okay, so now that we've talked about turf and ranked, I want to talk briefly about Salmon Run. Now, Salmon Run, I love this mode. I think it's super fun, But much like the other modes, I think that it could be really fun to have an 8-player Salmon Run, again, on super huge maps, have it be super chaotic, just really fun, maybe a little bit longer. I don't know. You would have to do some testing to see if the time limit is still good, but ultimately I think that Salmon Run could be super fun with more people. And in addition, I think that it would be fun to have an endless mode of Salmon Run, even if that's only a 4-people mode, that's fine. But being able to go into Salmon Run with a group of 4 people where you're all friends and you just go, and it's very much like zombies modes or things like that. That could just be a really fun time, and have a leaderboard, have, this is the crew, and you can pick a crew name and you get your name up on the leaderboard. And I don't know, I just think that could be super fun. Again, another engaging way to keep people on, and maybe they even get some kind of bonus if you last for a certain length of time. You like unlock new items, or whatever the case, you get more currency, or maybe if you hit a certain spot on the leaderboard, you get something special. I don't know, I think that they could do more to keep Salmon Run engaging, and I would really love to see some of these modes implemented. Now, single player, I don't have a whole lot to say. I am so sorry if you're a single player person, but I tried to play single player on Splatoon 2. It's not my jam. It's not my jam as much as I want it to be. I've tried it. I really just need to dedicate time to it. But my issue is when I play Splatoon, I want to play a quick game. I might not have a ton of time to play it, or I might just want to get really in the zone with being competitive, and I don't really care too much about the single player. I am interested in this game's single player just because it sounds very interesting, and I love the whole apocalyptic theme of the game, which I think it was a result of Chaos winning the final Splatfest for Splatoon 2, so I hope that there's a lot carrying over there. And I don't know, I'm sure I'll give it a shot. I hope I enjoy it, but I don't really have a whole lot to say. I don't really have hopes because I don't play those kinds of games. But I hope that you enjoy it if you like this kind of mode. I've never really been a campaign person in shooting games, so I don't know, it just might be me. Okay, and finally, I just want to share 2 extra little tidbits that I would love to see implemented in the game. So first of all, I would love to see a playlist selection. And the reason why I would like to see this is because there are some really good songs from both of the other Splatoon games. I'm sure they're going to be good in Splatoon 3, but I would really love to be able to select my favorite songs from this list and have that rotate out when I'm in turf or when I'm in ranked. Whatever the case, I would just really like to have these songs available and be able to choose my own playlist and not have to hear some of the songs that maybe aren't my favorites, or I don't know, sometimes they might be a little annoying. I think a vast majority of the songs are good, but I do have my favorites, and I'm sure you do too. So why not make it selectable? And my final recommendation or idea for what they could add to Splatoon 3 is some kind of mission system or trophy system or achievements. And what they could do is have achievements for each different kind of mode. So it would give people a reason to play all of the different modes. Maybe you would have missions or achievements to try new weapons, do things like that. I think that could be super fun, be very engaging, and if you give people hidden unlockable items for completing these, I think that would just be the icing on the cake. It would be so good. People would love to achieve these things. I'm sure I would play all of the different modes if it meant I could unlock things. So I don't really see why they couldn't do it and why they shouldn't do it. I know there are titles that you get to unlock and things like that. They're just trying to add these things in, but why not just take it a step further? Why not give people even more, keep the engagement high, give people a reason to play all of the different pieces of your game, and it's just going to pay off so much. So with that being said, these are all of my thoughts and opinions and hopes for Splatoon 3, everything that I would love to see Nintendo implement. Again, these aren't predictions, so please don't hold me to these, but I mean, if I get any right, if they do any of these things, I'm gonna be so thrilled. Please let me know in the comments down below what you think, if you agree with any of them, if you disagree with any of them, if you have any different ideas I didn't think of. I really would love to see them. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this kind of content. I'm going to be posting more gaming content in the next few weeks. So if you have any video ideas, also feel free to drop those in the comments. But thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.